Hi, in this video I'm going to be explaining what parametricity is and how it works and why it's so important. But before I get to that, I just need to explain a little bit about how sketches can be fully constrained and why that's so important as well, as you'll see later on. So I'm open in a part file. I'm going to go to the front plane, put a sketch in place, and I'm going to use the mouse gestures. I've actually got mine set up to suit me. So if I drag, you'll see that I get my shortcut bar. Now the shortcut bar, I'm going to escape. The shortcut bar you can get hold of by just pushing the S key. So that's all you need. Mine's arranged like this because I like everything in a column rather than in a block. And I'm going to show you in the next one video from now how to set that up. So for now, I'm going to start with just a line. I'm going to draw a shape, which is the same shape I'm going to be using again. And you see I've drawn it in space, and the moment that I close it, it turns into a grayed out shape, meaning it's closed, and that's essential because you're going to need closed shapes later on. So the thing about this shape is I can drag it around anywhere I want, which means it's unconstrained. It's not linked in any way to this point here. So this is called the origin point. It's the most important sort of point in all of CAD, in all CAD programs, because everything about this block is related to that point. So if I click, for instance, on a point here, you'll see under the Properties Manager, by the way, this is called the Feature Manager, I think. And under it, you have 3 different columns, one called, or 5 different columns actually, a design tree, the next one is a Property Manager, and then a Configuration Manager. We're going to deal with those 3. But to get back to the point, if I click on the point here, you'll see, hold on, let's do that again. If I click on the point, you'll see that in the Feature Manager, we immediately go to the Property Manager, and it shows you what the properties of that point are. So you can see that relative to the X0, it is 13.6 millimeters, and relative to the Y0, it's 11. So if I move this up a little bit, you'll see those figures change, right? So like that. So this point, everything in fact is being measured relative to the 0 point. So if I click on another point, you'll see that those figures change as well. The 52.92 was something else. There we go, you can see it. So if I look at this object, there are some constraints on it already. It has, at the top and the bottom, it has a horizontal constraint, so that the top and the bottom lines are horizontal. I can't move them out of horizontal, and the vertical line is vertical. These points on the end, I can move left and right and up and down, but I can't change that line's horizontality. And the same with these other points. I can't change their constraints. So if I were to draw this, or let's say, for instance, if I were to click on this little point and delete it, it no longer has any constraints, and I can move that point around. So the aim in all of CAD drawing is to get fully constrained sketches, or fully defined sketches. So that's what I'm going to just focus on a little bit before we proceed. I'm going to delete this, or let me just show you. You can drag, in this case it's a point. If that were constrained, it would have stayed like that. All right, I can drag a point to the origin point. You'll see this little crossed thing that's called coincident. It's a coincident constraint. The moment I do that, the lines go black, meaning they are constrained, they are properly defined. Okay, so I might use the word defined and constrained interchangeably. The word used by Solidworks is fully defined to describe a sketch which is fully defined. So it's fully defined when it goes completely black. I'll explain the other relationships. That's what these things here are called. These little green blocks with names to them. They're called relationships. I'll explain them a little bit later. But for now, first of all, I want to put in a center line because we're going to revolve this. So let me just show you how to do that as a single line. If I want to draw a single line, I click, hold the button down, and then drag it up. And then I can constrain it using the shift button into a particular position, or I can get it to snap to one of the guidelines. So I've got a horizontal center line, and I'm going to now dimension all of these objects. The dimension command is universally at the top if you're using the mouse gestures. So top position. So I'm going to dimension. First of all, I'm going to dimension from a point to the center, just to show you what that does, right? And so I'll get this dialog box coming up. I can use that to either confirm. Well, let's just change the dimension by typing inside here. So let's make that 50, and I can. Well, actually, maybe that's too small. Let's just make it 60, and then I can confirm that that's a change I want by clicking this little robot sign. That's regenerate, the regenerate button. And if I don't want it, I'll just change that and click that again, and you'll see everything updates. And once I'm happy with it, I click the OK button. But now, before I proceed with the other dimensions, I want to show you what happens as soon as you've got a center line and you dimension. If you dimension from a point or another kind of line to a center line, then the moment that you move your mouse cursor to the right of or to the one side of the line, it stays on one dimension. If you move it across to the other side, you'll see that it doubles up. So I want this dimension because this is going to be a diameter dimension. That's the one I want. And then once I've clicked the dimension button once, I can keep on dimensioning until I hit escape or something similar. So I'm going to make this 50. And then here I want to dimension an angle. So I'm going to click on this line. So there are a few steps here. One is I click and you'll see a dimension immediately arrives. I can now move that dimension anywhere I want. Well, relative to the line. So it can be parallel to the line, horizontal or vertical. And if I want to now dimension an angle, I just click on the point, one of the points, and you should get this sort of compass pointer with 4 arms to it. So I can now select which of the arms I want to dimension against. And so I want this one here. So I get this small dimension over there. That's going to be the most useful. And now I can change that. And you see, as soon as I've done that, I now have a fully defined sketch. All right. I'm going to put one more dimension in. I'm going to just click on this line and put that dimension in. I'm going to make it 100. And I'm going to do that because later on I want you to see that dimension come through in another environment. So that's very briefly how you get a fully defined sketch. We're going to deal with it in more detail a lot later. So I'm going to exit that. And then I'm going to rotate this. I don't need to, but it's easier. And then if I click on the sketch, I now have available at the top here all of the commands that allow me to use this sketch. So I can only do positive, I can only extrude or revolve or sweep. I have my own way of setting things up. I've got my shortcut bar once again arranged like this. So that's going to be my preferred method. But I'm going to select the command from the top for the first time. And then I've selected a center line already. You see it says axis of revolution. It goes to 360 degrees. You can change that, of course. You can come down, or you can type in here 100, and then you'll get just a slice. Okay, but we want a complete piece. And once I'm happy with that, I can right click and say OK, or I can click on the OK button in the feature manager. Right, so that's all I'm looking for now, just this shape. And now I'm going to make a drawing from this. So I'm going to go to File, Make Drawing from Part. I need to save this file first. So let's just save it as, I'm going to overwrite one that I've done already. Okay, and then because I've set up my templates, I've got 3 templates available to me. So I'm going to select the A3 one. And you'll see that on the right-hand side in what's called the task pane, you've got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buttons. We'll maybe go through them at some stage, but this will give you the opportunity to select a view to pull in. So I just click and drag and let go. And because I've set this up correctly, if I just pull the mouse up to the right, I'll get a right view. And if I go to the bottom, I get a top view, and I might, yes, I can get other views as well. So let's just zoom out a bit. Let's get an isometric view. Okay, and you'll notice now that all of these have got origin points. I've never been able to get rid of them, but if they do annoy you, as they do me, then just click on the I button next to it, and click on View Origins button, and they'll disappear. So these views here are constrained. In other words, they are linked to the main view, so they'll move about with the main view. I can move them in one direction, but not in any other direction. All right. This view, however, should be free floating. There it is. It's free floating. So that's just an aside. I don't think, yeah, you do need to know this, but I'm just showing you what happens when you pull a view in and how you get your 3 primary views plus your isometric view. We will deal at a later stage with the other properties such as scale, etc. For now, now that I've got these views, I now want to show you what parametricity actually is from the drawing point of view, and then I'm going to show you in the model as well why dimensions and why constraints are so important. So if I click in this view, or if I just hover over the view, you see it says Drawing View 1. This one will give you the feature Evolver Plug 1, but these 2 other views are in fact View 2, 3, and 4. So that one there is View 2. You can see, if I go back to the Feature Manager, that's the one that's highlighted, or I can select View 3 in this view, and it'll highlight that one, or View 4, which is the isometric view. So the moment you click on a view, Solidworks defaults to the Property Manager so that you can change things about the view if you want to. We're not going to do that right now. One of the things you can change are these configurations. So at the moment, there's only one configuration. It's called default. I'm going to explain configurations in the next video, and then you'll see why this is actually quite useful. So if I go to this drawing view and I click on this little button on the left-hand side, so the drawing view in the design tree, and then I click on the body to expand the design tree, you'll see that the design tree contains these features from sensor all the way down to revolve. And I can click on the revolve, and I can actually select the sketch, and I can show it in my sketch. So it's actually there, even though we can't do anything with it. But I'm going to hide it for now. Now, if you take note of these, and we hop across back to the model I made, you'll see that there's the design tree from sensor to revolve. Those sets of commands or things are available. So the front plane, the top plane, the right plane are all available in this. So what SolidWorks is doing, by the way, what I'm doing here is just using a shortcut, which you can use on your keyboard, which is let me just use it, Control Tab. So if I say Control Tab and I hold the control button, I can get all of the current models that I'm using available to me, and I can select one. But I think it automatically defaults to, yes, to the second one. So I can hop between 2. but it'll default to the last of the available windows. So in this object, if I click on the model, you'll see that all the dimensions that I put in now are available. I can use them. So the thing that I can do within this environment is I can select one of these little points, and I can use that to just drag however high I want the shape, or if I want to change the angle, I can drag it, and I can get it to snap to one of these points, 4.8 or 5. So it's incredibly powerful when you learn, when you put the dimensions in. This program becomes incredibly powerful because you can alter it on the fly, and that's what parametricity is. It's that once you have the dimensions, you can drive the shape from just using the dimensions. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to go into the sketch and alter the sketch. You can just use these points and do that. You can also do things like pull faces. If I pull this now, unfortunately, it's going to break the link between the sketch and the origin point, and then that's a mission to reestablish. So I'm not going to do that, but I'll show you at a later stage what we can do with that in other situations. So I'm going to go back to I'm going to go back to the sketch, to the drawing, not the sketch. This is a drawing, a sheet view to be technically correct. And I'm going to show you a neat trick, right? So this is a trick that you're going to use a lot. And this also helps perhaps you understand why putting dimensions in is so important. So I've got the view selected. If I go to annotations at the top and I select this second button, this is the magic button. If I click on this button, nothing will happen at first, but I'll get a dialog box on the left-hand side, and it'll, under the first tab, I've got two options. I can select a feature. Now this has got no features. It is just a feature, or I can select the entire model. So I'm going to select entire model. Then you can do other things like import items into all views, which you wouldn't really want to do. And then you can change what kind of dimensions come through. We'll deal with things like marked for drawing and not marked for drawing, and annotations. So you can bring through things like planes as well. I'm just going to click it now just to see what happens. And then once I say OK, I immediately get all the dimensions that I inserted into my model appearing for me. So this is brilliant. You don't need to dimension anything. If you put the dimensions in your sketches and they're fully defined, you'll get all those dimensions. I'm going to delete these other views. So I'm just, by the way, you can just delete like that as well. So you click, and then a context menu arrives on the right hand side, and you can click the delete button. I might have made this button up, I can't remember. But anyways, you should have a delete button there. Right, so now I can pull this down, and I can just pull these. If I just drag these dimensions, I can pull them into place. Okay. Now, just to show you, this is a dimension I put into the view. It has nothing to do with the view other than dimensioning the center line. So I just put that in there to show you that whatever dimensions you put into your sketch will be brought into the view. So I don't need this dimension. I'm going to delete it. And now I'm sort of not that happy with this design as it is. I want to change it. So I'm going to double click on this dimension. I'm going to say 65 and go like this, and watch, this will update. Okay, and if I hop across back to my model and I click in that, there we go. That's also changed to 65. So this is the power of parametricity, is that you can change things from any place in the model, because going back to this thing here, what you are being presented with in this view is the entire model. It's just being presented to you as in a drawing sheet format. so that you can add notes and you can do all sorts of other things. So I hope that is enlightening and that it's encouraging, and you're going to have to produce for me fully defined sketches for all of your models. So get used to it, but also there are enormous benefits to doing that. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.